Hello, fellow adventuresses. We are live. We are live. We're talking today about a fun tip about getting the wrong horse. What do you do
Exactly.
with the wrong horse that just doesn't mesh well with you? So that is what we are talking about today. If you are joining us live, like comment in the chat, let us know where in the world you are watching from. We are live, so if you have any questions, like throw them in there. We share them. We talk about it. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us today, and thank you, Heather.
Hi, Crystal. I'm sitting outside in the sunroom today. It's not windy finally here in Saskatchewan. Beautiful sky. However, if anybody that's in the Western United States and Western Canada or the far West, they've entered into this heat dome where it's like ridiculously crazy hot. And it's so funny because our weather people are talking about, everybody knows Canada gets cold in the wintertime, right? So they call these like polar vortex and all this. Well, now they're calling it a heat dome that British Columbia and Alberta, parts of Washington State, Idaho, I'm sure they're under. I know there's this big Thunderbird horse show going on out in Langley, BC, and friends that are out there, they're jumping at like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning because it is just so hot. Horses are having cool showers every couple of hours just to keep the temperatures down. I think it's for the Canadian listeners, it was 43 degrees Celsius there. For our American friends, that's over 100. So, that's hot now. Is it super hot where you are, Crystal, right now too?
We've been having waves of like thunderstorms off and on, so it's like sunny and then it's thunderstorm, which it's funny for Christian because in Germany it's like if it rains for a month straight. So he's
Oh,
kind of
right.
like, oh, this is really weird. Like you can actually have some sunshine and in between the rain. So yeah.
Yes, it's crazy. So today's topic, what do you do if you get the wrong horse while you're on a horse holiday? I've done a few of these, and probably the best advice I can give is when you're planning for your trip, because most of it, like all of the big tour operators out there, they're going to send you kind of a little survey before you go. How comfortable are you at the walk, trot, canter, gallop, tacking up your horse? How often do you ride? The best advice I can give is be 100% honest on those things. If you've cantered once, say that. Because it is, if they think you're an experienced rider and they match you up with a horse that is for an experienced rider, and the next thing you don't know how to stop, or the horses, you don't know how to kind of slow them down if they get going too fast, you could be in for a disaster. So being honest with your riding ability. If anything, when I go on these, I usually, I don't want to say dumb myself down, but I'm comfortable at all gates. However, going on a, if I don't, I'm not necessarily comfortable on a racehorse maybe. So I think that is so important that you're honest with your, if the horse is doing something that you're uncomfortable with, you need to speak up right away, not at day 4 when you've already Facebooked all of your friends back at home. Oh my God, this is a terrible holiday already. Like the horse is completely out of control. These tour operators, these horse safari locations, they have a whole string of horses for everybody. Your first timers to your, people that ride 2 or 3 horses a day. They're definitely going to be able to match you up with a horse that's going to suit your needs. Now, Crystal, you've traveled all over the world. What do you do now? You, as an experienced rider, you see these riders that say they're experienced versus, they've ridden a couple times. They rode at camp once as a kid, so they know how to ride horses. So what's some words of wisdom from the coach?
So I worked as a trail guide in Romania briefly. I loved that job. It was a lot of fun. And so I'd like to share a little bit how it works from the perspective of the stables. So at our particular yard, let's say we had 10 usable horses. If, everyone if we have 10 people and then there was like 1 or 2 horses for a guide. So heaven forbid, like your best, quietest horse gets lame that week, like, oh my God, then it's a disaster. But we had at our particular stables a nice mixture. So we had, let's say, 3 or 4 thoroughbred types who were for the advanced riders who wanted to canter and go fast. Everyone's on holiday, so they're like, we want to run. So we would definitely have a couple of horses for that, who also doubled as good horses for us guides should we have a group of beginners. But then we also had, I'm going to call them plow horses. They were actually like, in Romania, they have a lot of gypsy communities, and they still use horses. Like, they didn't have cars in a lot of these villages. Like, they use horses to pull the carts and pull the trees. And, so they were kind of ex-plow horses, let's say, which my boss, who owned the stables, had kind of like scooped up and used them as the, let's say, babysitter horses. So we had kind of a nice mixture of warm bloods and some like plowy type horses for beginner riders, or the more timid riders. And then we had our speedier horses for the more advanced or adrenaline seekers, let's say. So we had a good mix. But here's what happens. When every weekend we would get new customers, these like weekend holiday riders, the stables that I worked, it was mostly Romanian tourists, or we would get some Germans, but that was it. There was no Americans. I was the only one. And I would get this group of enthusiastic city people who wanted to ride horses on the weekend. And every single person has a different personality. Of course, they all bullshit about their riding experience. So I didn't actually ask them their riding experience, because I knew it was all lies anyways. So I was more interested I was sizing them up in a sense. How confident are they? Not just around the horses. I mean, like walking around. Did they shake my hand like, oh, nice to meet you? Or were they like, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. Or were they, energetic in their way of speaking, or were they more timid and chill? And, what was their interest? What was their, so I would definitely kind of quiz them a little bit prior to. And in the first, 30 or 60 seconds of meeting them, I was like, I know which horse is going to be good for this person. Whether they think it's good for them didn't actually matter, because it's all about safety, Right. The advanced riders, I can give them the more exciting horses. But the beginners, you find those ones first, because those are the ones you have to take care of the most. And you sort them out first, and then the stragglers kind of get the leftovers. So from a stables perspective, and, as I mentioned, heaven forbid your best horse goes lame or something like that. Usually the guides, it kind of depends on how many people booked that week, but sometimes the guides are the ones, training the green horses or riding the more squirrely horses. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the stables and how it works. But I will say, not every stables, like from my experience and what I've heard of people, not every stable knows how to match people as well, or they're limited based on their horses. Maybe they only have a certain type of horses or certain type of personalities, and the terrain is going to determine that. If you come to the stables and you're like, I just want to gallop, but you're in Bhutan and it's all mountains, like, it's not going to happen. You're going to have like a cute little canter in a meadow that lasts a minute, and then that's about it. But it's still adrenaline seeking because of how steep the terrain is. So, again, as you said, mention beforehand, like when you're researching the ride. We do have, and I put it in the chat, in our, so we give away the catalog book for free, the horse riding in every state and every country, on our website. And so if you click on that, so if you get the catalog, actually on the second page are our books, but we also have a trail riding blueprint, a success blueprint, which has like in-depth questions. You literally just fill it out once. And if you're looking for a tour or a stables, always give them that, like email it to them in advance so they know exactly your personality, what type of, like what your dream horse is. And that way you don't have this issue. So we did design that for that. So that's definitely an option. I would go and download it. Otherwise, as you said, Heather, like you guys need to be honest. You need to be honest about not just your riding ability, but about your fear and your comfort level. And I actually did an interview with Heather Wallace. She is known as the timid rider. Okay, she has a book or something like that. And she calls herself the timid rider. Like, that's her blog. She goes around, she tells everyone, like, I'm a timid rider. That's her thing. And I asked her, I was like, well, what happens? Because she went and she rode horses in Mongolia. And I was like, well, what happens when you tell them you're a timid rider? Do you just get like the most lazy donkey horse? Because for me, that's like my nightmare. I would never, ever be happy on a donkey, like on a horse that doesn't go. I'm an adrenaline seeking personality. And she's like, actually, I really love it because when I tell them I'm a timid rider, they have such low standards for me that they give me the nicest horse. And she's like, I have like this lovely, wonderful ride, and everyone else maybe has the greener or the fresher horses. But she's like, but they always take care of me. And because I can actually ride, she's like, it plays in her favor because she can actually do everything. She's not limited based on her abilities, but they already know that they need to take care of her. So she's like, yeah, I brag about my timidness because I always get the good horses. So yeah, don't feel like you need to play up your abilities and win some kind of contest or whatever. Like you're going to be with that horse for a couple of weeks, and it's not very easy from the trail perspective. I never mismatched any horses, but Christian and I, when we travel, unfortunately, poor Christian always gets the wrong horse. Although he loves his mare Q, so no horse can be as good as his horse. So he's already. They already have to play against that. But for some reason, Christian, he was only riding for a year, and although he was professionally trained, a lot of people, they see his CV and they see he's a man and they think he's riding because his wife rides, or, so they would always give him that donkey horse. And he was like, I don't want to ride these horses. Like, I want my fast thoroughbred back at home, So yeah, he always had a hard time trying to get a horse that matched him. So that is the thing as well. Like, make sure you make it clear. Like, if you don't want a donkey, make that clear.
Yes, and it is so important that if you do end up on a donkey at the end of the first day, you're back at the stable or whatever, tell your guide, my legs are really sore because all I did was kick this horse to get it to move all day. Is there another one I can use? You've paid money. In a lot of cases, you've paid good money for this holiday, and you want to be suited to the right horse. Now, not saying that you want to be on the race horse, but something that is, I'd like something a little bit more forward, or is there an opportunity for us to switch horses? And those are all really good questions to ask. You made a really great point when you said, as a guide, they kind of eye you up, because they do, they watch your behaviors. In some cases, they'll say, okay, go tack up those are your 3 horses, go saddle them up. All of their gear is there. I was on a ride and one time, and our guide said, okay, yep, Heather, that's your horse. Carrie, that's your horse. Go saddle up. And it was so interesting because they just let us do it. And at the time, we're like, wow, they're pretty trusting. And off we went and saddled our horses and got on, and down the road we went. But it wasn't until after that was her test, right? Like, if we'd have put the saddle on backwards, or, put the breast collar on as a bridle, or something, that they would have known that, okay, these ladies are all talk. Because if really, first impression, if you'd have seen us, this was our first away trip. So of course we had bought some new stuff, and I'm sure we were pulling tags off as we came out.
It is a red flag as a guide. If you show up wearing brand new boots that have never been worn, they don't have any dirt on them, I'm already in my brain like, okay.
Yeah. If you really, for somebody, and obviously we proved ourselves, but yeah, we were definitely pulling tags off of new breeches and those kind of things. But, use your voice if you're unhappy, or if, unhappy with a slow horse, or if you're scared, because there's not, the more scared you are, all of those nerves are going to go down to the horse. And that's really when something bad is going to happen, because you're going to be super tense, and the horse is going to be like, why are they super tense? Should we be scared of something? And that's, a terrible combination, because that's when, a branch does break and it's going to spook the horse. And because you're so tense, you're going to come, they're going to jump sideways and you're going to go the other direction and it's all going to go downhill. So because really, again, I can't reiterate enough. This is your holiday. You want to be there having a good time. So, use your voice.
I respect what you're saying, Heather, but I do want to mention from the guide's perspective, our number one priority is not your happiness. It's actually safety. That is your number one. Your happiness is second. So for me, I've had a situation where I had a woman, she thought she could ride better than she did. And I had to be kind of the grumpy person in the group that said, I'm sorry, you cannot have that horse, though I know it's pretty and you want it.
Right.
You have to have this one because you can't ride that one. And sometimes you'll like the look on people's faces, like their heart is breaking, like, but I paid money. It's safety. Right. Safety is our number one. And you should, I think, as well, respect, you're going to have fun no matter what. Like, you're in nature on horses. Like, you're going to have fun. But you should also, in your mind, always put your safety and the horse's safety as your number one priority. And sometimes if you need to take a little, whatever, chill pill or something, like accept that maybe that horse is too much for you. Like, trust the person who is around that horse every single day and who knows the trails. Because sometimes we had a trail in Bhutan. I know I talk about Bhutan so much because I love it so much. But there's a specific spot in the trail where it's pretty tricky. It's very technical. Those horses are amazing. They know their job. I don't trust you, the riders, but I trust those horses. So I matched the person with the correct horse because I know that horse is going to take care of them. And I'm always thinking about how is that horse going to handle with that rider at that one technical spot that I know they're going to freak out. But then, of course, they always have fun at the end of it. They're like, oh, my God, I can't believe I did that. So yeah, definitely always think about there's stuff that you don't know. You don't know what kind of trails you're going to see. You don't know everything. So sometimes you might need to just like, okay, maybe this person knows a little bit more than me. I'm just going to deal with this horse.
Right. And that's really great advice. You have to trust the horse. You have to trust the horse that's been down that trail 100 times. They know, I was on a ride in the mountains and they told us the horses know what the bears smell like. So they're going to know that the bear is there before you do. So they know how to handle it. And I think that that's something that, when you're researching a tour operator, look for reviews, look for all of those kind of things that, that they have the quality horses. As a horse person, you're going to know when you get somewhere if the horses look a little bit sketchy, right? If they're a little bit on the skinny side or just what kind of shape is the gear in, those kind of things, your tack. But you're absolutely right. You have to trust the guide, and communicate with the guide. If you're scared, if you're terrified of the horse, they're going to know before you even get on, just simply because your body language and those kind of things. But don't forget to use your voice in those situations. And the guide may, like you said, say, you know what, you need to suck it up for the next half day till we get back and then we can talk about it. But I don't have another horse in my back pocket for you to ride. Sometimes those situations and every once in a while, maybe there's opportunity for you to trade horses with the guide or with another rider if a situation was to present. But knowing your limits and being super honest with your skill level and not, I went to riding camp when I was a kid and now I'm 40 years old and I know how to ride. Well, that was 25 years ago. So
yeah, I will say the number one mistake I see people making when they are out on the trail, first of all, they try and treat non-Western horses like Western horses. And by Western, I mean first world horses, not Western as in the saddle. So they try and take up the reins, have contact, put their horse in a whatever. And it's like, you're going to be on this horse for 5 hours. Like, I'm sorry, but that horse is not going to have contact and be in a little dressage frame for 5 hours up and down steep mountains or on a beach or whatever. So the number one mistake I see people do is they try and act like they know more than that horse, and try and, you know, command that horse or direct the horse as if they know better, when actually the riders who are maybe not even the best riders in the world, but they just leave the horse alone. Those
Right.
are the riders who actually have the most fun, who get the most out of their horses, and who their horses are just so much more appreciative and so much more willing to do more for the riders who just let them do their job. I've seen horses that maybe they are a little bit hot, but because the rider is like just trying to, you know, putting all of their tension and anxiousness into the reins, into their hands, the horse becomes more hot and the horse becomes more agitated as that 5 hours progress, or as that week progresses. You know, it's like a ticking time bomb at that point. So that's one of the things that, you know, you definitely have to think about. And I've seen this happen with not myself, but with some other people who owned trails. And when we did stuff, you know, when we were more observing, I've seen that happen where riders got themselves into situations just because they were kind of winding themselves up and winding their horses up. So yeah, you can't really treat them like you would, you know, your dressage horse back at home, unless you're on a dressage tour. I don't know. But yeah, you have to just leave your horse alone. Let them do their job. Ride them with pretty loose reins. Ride them, like, be forgiving. You know, you're there to enjoy the scenery anyways.
Well, and really, a trail ride is designed, you know, there's, you know, when you go on these riding holidays or trail rides, those kind of things, majority of it is pretty slow. You're like you said, looking at the scenery, you're going for a walk. Obviously, as an experienced horse person, you know that when you're going to go into that canter, that your body position changes, your hands change. You do need a little bit more control when you're going fast. But then when you release and you go back down to that walk, there's no need to have them in frame and all, because, you know, you're not in a dressage test, you're on a trail ride. So, you know, it is supposed to be relaxing, and, you know, you can't take pictures of the mountains or the, you know, the beautiful trees or the fig trees or the beaches if you have both hands on the reins and you're trying to keep this horse in frame. So, you know, that I think trying to train the horse while you're on a horse holiday is something that you need to not even have in your perspective while you're, you know, you're there for a holiday to enjoy the countryside, see castles, see beaches, not have a riding lesson or have a training session with the horse. So I think you made a great point with the book, the horse riding in every state and country. Use that as a tool, and in that book, which is so cool, is, you know, it has all the little guides. It tells you if this is a fast ride, a slow ride, you know, what level of riding do you need, and even you'll know with the type of horses that you're going on, you know, if you're, and the terrain, right? You should know if you're going for a backcountry ride in the Rocky Mountains, there probably isn't going to be a lot of cantering. However, if you're going to Ireland where there's beaches and long grassy knolls and all that kind of stuff, probably there's going to be more cantering. So you have to, you know, book with what you're comfortable with, and use those the little guides of, you know, what type of horses there are, how fast the ride is going to be, how long you're going to be in the saddle, because, you know, on a big Irish cob versus a little Arabian, you know, you know, how long you're sitting in the saddle versus a Western saddle, English saddle, all of those kind of things will, you know, determine what feels right for you.
Definitely. And I've seen that there's been quite a few of you joining us live. So if you guys have any questions, you know, just comment in the chat. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. We really are like adventuresses. We're everywhere. There's almost like no countries that haven't been explored in our Facebook group alone. It's insane, some of the places that you guys have been on horses, of all things. So yeah, just comment and let us know. And if there's any other topics or ideas for future topics that you would like us to discuss, then yeah, just let us know, reach out to us by email or in the comments. So thank you guys so much. I think this was a good, helpful topic. Lots of different things to think about. I hope you guys were taking some notes. And definitely grab the catalog book. The link is in the comments. It is for free. You know, the paperback, I think the paperback is gorgeous. That you can find on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. But grab your free copy first. So yeah, thank you. And thank you, Heather, for joining me today.
Yes, and happy horse holiday picking. Use the guide. If you get the wrong horse, make sure, speak up. Don't oversell yourself. I think we get more respect as equestrians by underselling our abilities, and then they're super impressed by how good of riders we are. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you guys for watching, and happy trails.
Happy trails.